For the Guns and Yellow Ribbons, my name is Fergus. I'm your host. We're going to look back at the Brighton game. We're going to compliment Chris Kavanagh in following the letter of the law and much, much more. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. This is your Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Enjoy the show.
Good evening. Boys, how are we doing? It's hot, it's sultry, it's warm in and around London. Trevor looks like he's dressed for Christmas. Our Magnum PI, our Mojito Trev is back in the house. How are we, Trev?
Yeah, I'm really good. I've had a great day on the beach today, soaking up the sunshine. Everything's been perfect. Donna hasn't recovered from a massive session watching the Arsenal on the TV here on Saturday. She got drunk with me and she hasn't touched a drop since. But yeah, all good. Plenty to talk about. Hate referees, right? Hate Danny Welbeck. Hate Brighton. Hated football on Saturday at the end of that game. So upset. So wrong. Interpretation. Consistency is all we ask for. And PGMOL, you're arseholes.
Before we go on to the other guys, Hannah is in the chat. She was waiting for us to start, and she sent a picture of her dinner. Those waffles don't look very healthy. The rest of it, it's probably a 7 out of 10 for healthy dinners there. What do you reckon, Alex?
That looked like what do you call a breakfast?
Yeah, it becomes an all-day breakfast then, doesn't it?
Yeah, breakfast. Waffles. That's breakfast as well, isn't it?
No.
When you want.
What waffles is what Trevor does quite a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Look, it's a Scandi thing. He doesn't know what breakfast and dinner is, mate. It's they weird things over there, so I wouldn't worry.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or does Trev look like he belongs on a beach with selling sunglasses like a looky man?
He does. He does.
Guys, I can't wait to be back next week on my computer. Fergus Keating, you are going to suffer. For the whole of the show, you are going to suffer. Guarantee it. Promise.
Yeah, I suffer anyway, Trevor. I suffer you. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Tell you what, we need to look at first and foremost the transfer window. And your thoughts on the transfer window out was Emil Smith-Rowe. He went to Fulham. Nketiah went to Palace. Ramsdale, Southampton. El Neni went to Al. Is it Jazeera? Cedric was released. Okonkwo went to Wrexham. Nelson on loan to Fulham. Vieira on loan to Porto. Lokonga on loan to Seville. Tavares on loan to Lazio. And Hein on loan to somewhere in Spain. Real Vlad. I don't know.
Fergus Keating, you
too bad, was it?
No end.
Did you say, boys? Did you see spelling the Martinelli in the notes for the show? N-E-L-L-I-E. Nelly.
Yeah. You've read them. That makes a change. That makes a change. We brought Raheem Sterling, Neto, who haven't got on here on loan. Both of those on loan. We brought Moreno in from Real Sociedad, Calafiori from Bologna, and Raya was made on a permanent. So transfer windows. Alex, I'll come to you first. How do you rate, and is your audio better because it was really, really quiet? How do you?
Is it better now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate.
Stop shouting.
How do you rate this transfer window? I know when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, we were saying it's about a 5 out of 10. Has it improved?
I think it's better than 5 out of 10. I think in general we've improved our squad depth, like the next best players, like the 13th to 17th man in the squad. Like I think Calafiori improves us. Marino as well when his shoulder's all right again. I think he improves us. Raya, of course, we kind of knew we were going to bring him in after the loan, and then Sterling. I think Sterling can be a really good signing. I like the structure of the deal. I think we're just paying a bit under half of his wages and then no loan fee. So kind of risk free. And I think under Arteta, a player or a manager he's worked with at City, I think he can thrive and regain some confidence. His numbers were really good at Chelsea, apart from last season, and he scored a lot of goals when you look at his time in City as well. So I think he's kind of the X factor player we needed. I would have liked maybe a permanent player as that X factor player, but I think we kind of needed one towards the end of the window, and he was what was available. So I think, all in all, for me, I think it's probably a 7 out of 10 window. We needed that wow player, or that rabbit out of the hat towards the end for me to bring it up to a 9 or 10. But I think decent transfer window. We've improved areas where we needed it, left back and left half space in the midfield, and then an attacking player as well.
Trevor, a rabbit out of a hat, 7 out of 10. Raheem Sterling started last season very, very strong at Chelsea. I was surprised he wasn't selected for the England squad in the very first international break. He's fallen down the pecking order for various reasons. A bit of a shit show over there. How do you rate this window, and what stands out for you? The Sterling deal is Sterling.
I don't like rating transfer windows 7 out of 10. I don't like that trend. I don't know why I don't like it, actually. There's nothing wrong with it, I don't think. But I don't like it. But for me, Sterling is going to go one way, one extreme or the other. There's going to be no down the middle from Raheem Sterling. He's either going to fly this season and score lots of goals and be a constant thorn in opposition sides, which I hope is the one, or he's going to sit back, take his wages from us in Chelsea and have a nice easy ride through the season. I can't see the second thing happening. I won't hope it happens, but I think that's honestly the two ways it could go. I think that injuries have shown that we've left ourselves, for me, one light in the middle of the park. I think that if we hadn't got another signing in there, we should have kept one of our people players to play in there, preferably Smith Rowe for me. And I think injuries have shown that to be the case. But we've got what we've got now. We've got to move on from it, and we've got to hope that the young kids shine. I'm really excited to see Nwaneri. Really excited to see Nwaneri come in and play against all the top sides, because you hear nothing but good news about the boy. And there's no doubt about it. If injuries continue as they are, he's going to become an integral part of our team. But I'm not going to linger on him because he's not in there yet. But what we've got is capable of winning this game. So I'm just not sure about who plays in midfield next week against Tottenham, to be honest. You can't have a player of Declan Rice's standard on the second choice, because players of that standard won't be second choice. They'll move on to another club. But we're going to miss Declan Rice, and I'm not sure what we're going to do to cover him.
Dan, what's your thoughts on the transfer window? Who clearly Sterling was a one out of the blue. Could you imagine if we loaned Saka to Spurs for a season, didn't get a fee, and paid 60% and paid 60% of his wages? It's just a crazy deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't quite put it up with that type of transfer, but you won't be surprised to say or to hear that I disagree with you guys slightly. I actually think it's a bang average window, if I'm totally honest. It's a difficult window. I think that needs to be taken into account, because there are not many clubs that have actually gone out in this market and had a fantastic window. I don't think there are the players available at reasonable prices in this window, or the players that have wanted to move yet. So I think that's made it difficult. I think when you look at the back, I think from a goalkeeper perspective, we've regressed. I think Neto's nowhere near as good as Aaron Ramsdale's a backup. I know we expected that, so that's sort of one I think we need to take on the chin. I think Calafiori has massively improved us in defence. We needed an extra body, someone that is a proper defender that can also play out with the ball. And Timber coming back from injury, I think you can maybe throw that into the hat as well. So defence-wise, I think fantastic. I think we're set there for years now, and we don't need too many ins and outs. It's a case of managing injuries along the back line, and if players like Tomiyasu can't stay fit, we'll probably moving them on and bringing a new body in. Midfield, I think's an issue, if I'm honest. I don't think you can rely on Nwaneri as a backup for Odegaard. I think it's too soon for him. I think we should have had another body in there and then bring him in slowly and give him a chance. Whereas to have him as the backup for Odegaard really, really worries me. I think Marino is a fantastic signing, brings a bit more balance to our midfield, a proper 8 as opposed to a 10 or a 6. You can't really account for the fact that he's injured. That is just massively being unlucky. But I think we're a body missing there. Up top, I still think we need a striker. Havertz is clearly our number 1. I think we need to accept that, and I think he's played fantastic. But I don't think Jesus should be the backup striker. He should have been a player that plays out on the wing. And also with his injuries at the minute, I'm surprised that we didn't go out for someone. Agree with Alex on the X Factor player. I think that's what we was missing. That would have turned our window from a 6 into like an 8, 9 plus. Agree they're difficult to obtain in this window, but that's what we needed. We needed an Osimhen, or we needed a Nico Williams on the wing. Instead, we've got Sterling, who I think is a fantastic deal. There's absolutely no doubt about it. To loan out Nelson, bring more game time for Nelson so he improves, bringing in a player such as Sterling that's won it all pretty much, fantastic experience, and can play all across the line. And don't forget, he's a player of great quality. So I think he will bring a lot to our team. And it wouldn't surprise me if he gets into our starting 11, if I'm totally honest. He is that good, in my opinion. I think he's just not the person that we wanted, that fitted the profile of player that we needed. Just, the striker in the midfield worries me, which is why I think it's an average window.
Getting lots of comments about your shirt, Trev. Jason says you're loving the shirt, Trev. Melvin says, book him, Dano, showing his age there clearly. And a few others in the chat coming in a little bit late. Bill, Arnie, it's good to see you all. Personally, I think the Raheem Sterling deal is, for exactly the reasons you said, Dan, really good. It's an upgrade on Nelson. Gives Nelson game time, hopefully, at Fulham. Trev, he clearly is. He's had far more Premier League experience, an England international.
Ferg, I agree with that. This signing of Sterling just reminded me a bit of the bad old days when we realised last minute under Wenger, in the transfer window, we were actually a bit short and we had to bring in some cover. Admittedly, Sterling at his best is fantastic cover. But just imagine if we'd have missed out on Sterling on transfer deadline day, which was possible because it was very late in the day, we would all be sitting here now thinking a completely different story. We wouldn't have it in our head that Sterling could come in and cover for Saka, cover for Havertz, cover for Martinelli, cover for Trossard. We wouldn't. I think that we got lucky with it. I honestly do, Ferg. I honestly think we got lucky with Sterling becoming available because we needed someone. We let a lot of talent go. I mean, I trust our manager and I trusted you. They've not let us down, have they? But I can't help but think we got lucky with Sterling becoming available. And that's why I'm saying I hope Sterling turns up the Sterling we know can play at his very best. Because then we'll be all right. But who knows?
I do actually agree with you, Trev, if I'm honest. And I think without Sterling coming in, I think it would have been a lot worse a window than what it was. I think that's a really, really big deal for us. But there's two other things to consider that maybe I've not thought of and not mentioned there is, one, the team is massively improving anyway, sort of week by week. There are still a young squad that's improving, and I expect them to improve on last year. So we're not looking like for like, same squad as last year to this year. I think this year the squad should be better than last year because they're learning game by game. And also, I can say it's an average window. You look at the complaints that people had at the beginning of last season with our window and how those players went on to perform, the likes of Havertz. As you said, fully trust the management, and maybe by the end of the season, I'll be sort of eating my own words and saying it wasn't an average window, it was a top window, because the likes of Calafiori and Marino, etc., and Sterling could come out and have blinders of the season, could win us the league, and then picture completely changes.
Also, when you look at the other clubs, like
Ferg, it's
I wouldn't.
time for Ilsey to ask you a question, Ferg, because you get away with it every week. You ask all the questions, but this is an important subject, right? This transfer window, you've not really said much about how you rate it. I'm excited by Calafiori.
If you listen back a little bit later, I started to, and you started going, and then you took over the mic. But
that's because you were talking bullshit. But
I got 2 words out. Point proven.
I think that Calafiori, I've seen Calafiori now, and I love his attitude. Not too much of him play, but I love his attitude. He looks like he's going to be a player that's got lots of time on the ball, can make a bit of time on the ball, which is what you need in the Premier League. But as for Moreno, I've not seen him. How is he going to do? But Ferg, come on, answer the question. Like, what?
To be honest, I've not seen much of Moreno bar in the Euros. He looked decent enough in the Euros, and obviously you read and watch things post transfer. But I do like that. Looking at his stats, he's very similar to Granit Xhaka in this type of position he plays. But he's actually his stats say that he's actually better than Granit Xhaka in that position. Doesn't get as many cards. Got better. Interaction is like more like double the interactions on a ball than Granit Xhaka in games. So for that one, I'll have to wait and see. I think the thing that did make the window halfway decent was just getting cover for Saka, because we said last week when we were talking after you stormed off Sulkin that we said that we wanted cover for Saka, and we have got cover for Saka. The concern that we've got with Sterling to a certain degree is what Heath put in the chat. He could keep Martinelli at the starting 11. Like Martinelli, we'll go on to the Brighton game shortly, but Martinelli was dropped for Trossard, which I think was probably called for. And we'll talk about the impact of that. But how do you think Sterling will impact on Martinelli's career then, Trevor?
Hadn't crossed my mind, mate, to be honest. Hadn't crossed my mind. He's here for a year on loan, isn't he? And it's good. If he gets into the side on merit, then hopefully Martinelli will be the kind of lad that will take it on the chin and think, right, I've got to pick the game up. You know, a better player has taken my place in the team. But Trossard came in for Martinelli the weekend, didn't he? So what are we saying? Are we saying that Trossard now drops to third choice then if it's Sterling Martinelli?
I think with Arteta, when you look at players that he has, he looks for flexibility in all positions, and you can see Martinelli went out in was it the first or second game and covered for Saka. You've got Sterling now that can go across the top three. Trossard can play other positions. Was he 30 next window? He's got a year left on his next birthday, and he's got a year left on his contract. So, there was talk of him going to Saudi, which he didn't want to do, and the club refused. Trossard, it's all about it's a squad game. It's a squad game. What in say one or two words? I'll go to you first, Dan. Do you think we have strengthened in all departments now?
No. I think I answered that earlier. I think we need a striker and we need a cover for Ødegaard rather than Waneri.
Alex?
Yeah, I don't think we have strength in all depths at the moment, but I still think we had a decent window.
And Trev?
Basically the same, really, apart from different position. My worries lay in the middle of the park more than in the forward area of the park. My worries lay in the Partey, Rice, Jorginho triangle. That's where I worry. We've lost Partey. We've lost Rice now. It says Jorginho comes in, but then Partey's very injury prone. So
we're. Is he gone? Yes. Right. Let's talk about the Champions League draw. I'm sure he'll.
I thought it went quiet, Ferg.
What's that?
I thought it went quiet.
Let's talk Champions League and the Champions League draw. Trevor will be back in a second.
Sorry, the internet's dropping out. Sorry, folks. Sorry, mate.
That's fine.
We only said nice things about each other.
Yeah. Before we go, we can't stop and wish Aaron Ramsey the best of luck at Southampton. He didn't have a great opening game, lost 3-0, but he sent a lovely message to all the fans and wished us luck. And he said that he really enjoyed it, his time at Arsenal, and he made a connection with the club, which is really nice to hear. So, Champions League draw. So we drew PSG, Inter Milan, Shakhtar Donetsk, Atalanta, Dynamo Kiev. No, is it? No, who's it? Dynamo Zagreb, yeah. Sporting Lisbon, Monaco, and Girona. The dates of the draw. The first one is on Thursday, which is unusual for Champions League. They put it across all different days. The 19th of September. Our first home game is the 1st of October, which is against PSG. Alex, your thoughts on the Champions League draw, and if you want to refer to that table you sent me as well, we can as well.
I think overall, like from a sporting perspective, it's a pretty good draw. I think PSG is probably our most difficult game, and we've got them at home, so that's pretty good. Inter is going to be a difficult game, of course, away. So they're the two main difficult games, and then the rest of them, I think we should be able to win most of them. Monaco, Sporting, Shakhtar, Atalanta. It's all games we should be winning. So I think we have avoided a lot of top teams in our draw. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about the draw.
Dan, your thoughts on the draw and trying to book flights when they announced the tickets, the fixtures at about, I think it was 12:15 on Saturday. You somebody asked how you saved your voice on match days. That's how you release match fixtures at 12:15, and you don't hear a word.
Trying to book tickets and watch the game at the same time. It's the most stressful thing I've ever had in my life. But so much so that I sort of stopped going to the pub after the game, went straight home just to book all the flights again. But honestly, I'm absolutely buzzing. So much so that I looked at the draw, and the first thing I did was just check the away games. And someone asked me who we got in our group, and the only four I could tell them we had was the away game. So I didn't even look at the home games until about like the next day. But yeah, just honestly over the moon. I think brilliant draws. Really looking forward to all of them. Atlanta is obviously a smaller ground, but somewhere new. The guy in Italy, it's a nice place as well, slightly outside Milan. So can't wait to go there. Lisbon we've been before, but a great social. Could be the last game at San Siro as well, potentially with the renovations and bits they're doing. So great to go there and hopefully replicate the 5-1. And then Girona, when you go into a ground that's like 15,000, it's just something that you don't get to see week in, week out. So, yeah, can't wait. Home games, one of you lot will have to talk about because I'm only focusing on the aways.
Trevor, your good wife booked flights and sorted everything out for you because you were probably incapable due to drinking too much mojitos in Greece this time. So what's your thoughts on the draw? Have you been to Atalanta before and Girona?
No, not been to either of them places before. Firstly, it was absolute poor performance from whoever released those fixtures at that time just before a game. Surely they know what people have to do, what we have to go through, and what we have to do to get these flights booked and get this accommodation booked. It was an absolute crap show from whoever released them then. But it's done now, and I've got it in the back of my head. Is it the European Super League through the back door? Because the 8 results don't reflect on those 8 teams. They reflect on the bigger picture of the 30-odd teams. And is it the European Super League? Well, it is for me because we've got 32 teams playing all these games. We're spending all our money, right? And at the end of it, we're still going to have 24 teams in it, aren't we? You know what I mean? So we're going to play 8 games of football in a 32-team league, and at the end of that, we're still going to have to pay all our money watching 24 or however many it is being whittled down. I'm not sure.
It really depends on how we get on. If we get in the top 8, we don't have the extra 2 games in January or February sort of time, and we progress automatically to the last 16. So it's the last 16 2 games is in the normal format, the last 8 2 games, the semi-finals and the final. So there's 5 more games thereafter, providing we get in the top 8.
Yeah.
I was just going to say your final thoughts on this one before we move on, Trev.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts
on Arsenal thing? This is the Arsenal thing. We never have ever made things easy in Europe for ourselves.
I know.
Never.
I know.
Even when we won the last final, it was take a 1-0 early lead in the 20th minute of the Winners' Cup final and hang on for dear life. We never make things easy in Europe. We're going to finish 9th probably and have to play them 2 extra games because that's what we do in Europe. But it's what we've got on it. They know us fans will keep going and keep spending more money, which is what we've got to do again. So here we are. I've got all the flights booked, all the accommodation booked. I'm ready to go again.
Dan, thoughts on the fact that the 8 progressed to the last 16, 9 to 24 have a playoff over 2 legs, and if you lose, you're out. Same in the Europa League, same in the conference you can't drop. It does not add value to the other 2 competitions as well.
Yeah, I think it's wrong that Champions League teams dropped out into the Europa League in the first place. So to stop that from happening, I think it's great. I don't like the additional 2 games. Well, I like the additional 2 games, so I get to watch them, I get to go to them, but they don't think of fans and the cost that they have already. That's extortionate. They're only going to add more in, as you said, backdoor to the Super League, guaranteeing the next 3-4 years. It will just continue to expand and it'll end up that way. My only caveat to that is, and leading into what we're going to discuss soon, the standard of refereeing in the Premier League is shocking. But the standard of refereeing in Europe, for me, is a level above the UK. And one of the biggest things that's making me sort of fall out of love with the football in the Premier League is just the standard of refereeing, officiating, and the bribery and corruption that's there. And there's been lots of issues in Europe with corruption that's gone on. But one thing I am happy with is just the standard of football, standard of officiating for most things that goes on. And I think you get value for money for the Champions League. So in one way, having 3 more games of it is a good thing.
Alex, the standard refereeing in Europe is much better. I remember Porto, 37 free kicks. Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
I guess every ref can have a shocker. But yeah, just
we know a few of them.
Yeah. But just like on the format, I think I agree with I'm against like having the 2 extra games, but I think one of the good things about the new format is every single game is going to count, whereas in the old format you usually go to the last round of the group stage, and a lot of the good teams will be through in the first place and they don't have anything to play for, whereas now you're going to have everything to play for in every single game, even in the last game, unless you're 3 or 4 points ahead of the second team, because it's going to be seeded. The first to 8th place is going to be seeded, so there's more to play for in every game, which I like. So yeah, that's just a little positive about the new format.
Briefly, what was this table you sent us? So this is Arsenal overall, all in
That's
Europe
just
and Champions League?
Yeah, that's just our record against all of the teams we've drawn in Europe and then in the Champions League. So we can see Inter. In general, we haven't really played lots against the teams we've drawn, so that's pretty funny.
Sorry, my neighbour's kids have just gone out in the garden next door and they're making all sorts of strange noises. Yeah, so just
sounds very weird.
Your stomach sounds bad, mate.
Yeah, you'd know. So next up is Brighton.
Hang on, sorry, just before we move on, I've been reading some of the comments. Just didn't want to move on from 2 of them particularly. One from Paul, he said about meeting his son at Villa. Always really good to meet young Gunners that go to games, and we need more of them to keep supporting the club for years to come. So yeah, really good to see you guys outside Villa. Great win, and obviously was all buzzing as we came out. So really good trip. And then I think there's another comment about people seeing us on Block 5 and managing voices. Block 5 for me, and maybe you'll add to this, Ferg, it's been growing and growing and growing, and just really good to see so many people getting involved, new faces constantly, and just forget what happens on the pitch. Just a great day out for everyone that's involved. So really good to see everyone involved there. My voice, yeah, it doesn't last very long. It's
well, you turn up late. You didn't drink enough beer. I had to start it off. I lost my voice halfway through it.
That's why it was terrible then, Ferg, because if you started, it was a shocking atmosphere. But yeah. No, just my voice, I think, dies for about 24 hours, and I'm on voice rest and throat sweets to try and get it ready again just in time to come on here. And yeah, you complain about my sound on the podcast, but I'm pretty sure it's just my voice, mate.
Yeah, no, it's just sound on the podcast. I just finishing off on that Black 5 thing. It's absolutely brilliant. It's post-lockdown, most of it started. Just building the atmosphere. It's great that you can get a man, woman, and child in there. It doesn't matter. Everybody joins in. There's no it gets raucous. Don't get me wrong, but people are conscious of other people. Like how many times we have Jude come in and he's in a wheelchair sometimes, or there's other people that come in, and everyone gets a go and to join in and just get behind the club. And it's exhausting. I must admit, the first couple of games back, I've come back the next day and I feel like I ran a marathon. It's just really, really sapping of all your energy. Block 5 on Saturday, an early kickoff is normally a difficult place to be, but I think we got to go in pretty well for an early kickoff, and I was quite impressed by Block 5. The lineups did change slightly for this game. We had Trossard in for Martinelli, but otherwise was Reyes, Liba, Gabriel, Timber, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, as I said, Trossard and Havertz. Trevor, what's your thoughts then on Martinelli, as I've written down here, being dropped for Trossard? Do you think that was in response to his subdued goal celebration we saw last week?
No, I think it was purely because Trossard's playing better. It's that simple. I expected Trossard's coming from Martinelli. I think most people expected Trossard's coming from Martinelli, and that's what it was. It was nothing other than Trossard's been playing better and offering more to the team. So he played. Well, that's how I saw it anyway. I don't know how you boys saw it.
Alex, what's your view on that? Does Trossard not make a better impact off the bench? Because Martinelli can wear him down, running up and down the wing. But then, Trossard comes on and normally scores a goal.
It does feel like that kind of cycle, doesn't it? Where Trossard makes an impact off the bench and then he starts next game and he doesn't do really well. And then Martinelli comes back in. But yeah, I don't think he really gave Arteta much of a choice after the performance he put in. He looked so sharp when he came on against Villa. So yeah, I think it was definitely the right thing to start him against Brighton. So not much to say on the team selection. Good to see Timber being fit for more than one game and starting again. Yeah. I guess we'll discuss that later. But it'll be interesting to see when Calafiori we'll see his name in the starting lineup, because I think he's looking really, really good.
Well, we might have to have some options for the North London derby, and we'll talk about that in a week or so's time, because Rice is going to be out. Partey, for me, looked a bit sluggish on Saturday, so I don't know if he's carrying an injury or anything like that, but there might have to be some rotation with some players going into that midfield area. There was chances for Odegaard, Ben White, Trossard, in particular that one that Trossard lobbed that beautiful ball in, Dan, to Odegaard, and Odegaard really fluffed his lines and just couldn't make proper contact with that. He should have scored from that, shouldn't he?
Yeah, should have done better with it. I think that's a lot of things with us at times, and I think that's the one area we need to improve. We're not clinical enough. Top teams are clinical. It took Man City a long time to become as clinical as they are now. So let's not forget that. It isn't something that happens overnight, but it is something we need to improve if we're going to become a Champions League winning team and a Premier League winning team. So should do better. You can't sugarcoat it.
I said to you and some of the others around me in the game, we started really, really strong in the first 10 minutes, and we were knocking on the door and we just couldn't finish anything off. And I think we need a goal in the first 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes ticked along and went. To start getting a little bit. Well, the crowd wasn't, but I was just getting a little bit worried that, is this going to be one of those ones that just ticks along, and then Brighton could grow into the game. But on 37 minutes, it started with Yuri and Timber, who won the ball and launched it up the field, out from the outside his own area, up to Saka, and Saka put it into Havertz, who put us in the lead by lobbing the keeper. Interesting thing about this is the 34th goal in the Premier League, but his first ever from outside the box. What did you make of his Havertz's, in particular, first half performance, Trevor?
I think he listened to me last week because he stayed down the centre. He wasn't following the ball out wide right from the very start of the game. I thought, Havertz is running the centre. This is exactly what me personally wanted to see him do. And when he picked up the ball from Saka, I thought there was only one result: lob, and in it went. So I thought that Havertz played really well. I thought he played better than the previous week. And yeah, that's where I want to see him. I want to see him through the middle. I want to see him fall forward. I don't want to see him following the ball wide, as I said last week. And I don't think he did so much this week. I thought he played where I'd like to see him play, and it paid off.
It's his 18th Premier League goal involvement in the last 21 games in the Premier League. He scored in 5 of his last 5 appearances at the Emirates. Like you were, I think it was at Brentford when he got that first goal, Dan. He's come a long way, Havertz. Is he now deemed a success?
You can't deem someone a success after a season. To be a success, you've got to do it for 3, 4, 5 years and more. But he's proven to be a good buy. He's proven that if you settle into one particular position and you can play there regularly, then you can improve game by game. He's showing all of his attributes that he's got. He's great at running in behind. He's great with the ball to feet, but he's also so good in the air at holding the ball up and bringing people into play. And he is our plan A and our plan B at the minute. He's got it all in one. The only thing that I think he hasn't got particularly is he's not a clinical striker like the likes of Haaland are. And there aren't that many of him around, but you get with a striker that a selfish streak where they can just put the ball in the back of the net. And I think that's the one thing he's particularly missing. That 1-on-1 in the second half down to 10 men should have been buried.
Yeah, in fairness, I think that was one where he should have buried it, and then Saka had a go, and it got parried away, and then he ran for it, but I think his feet went underneath him or something like that, and the ball just got a bit overstretched. Alex, we're into the second half, 4 minutes into the second half, and since taking charge in 2019, Mikel Arteta's team has been shown 16 red cards, 3 more red cards than any other team in the league over 245 games. This particular red card was Declan Rice's red card. I'm going to play the video. It's only a short bit and I'll have no sound, but it was his first red card ever in the competition. I'll just play the video. Tell me what you think.
Oh, I don't even want to see it. It just infuriates me so much. Like, watching it, I was so confused when he pulled out the red card because I was sure that, if it was a red card, it was going to be for Joe Feldman for the way he kicked down Rice, and you could see all the Arsenal players, they were really confused as well. And yeah, the situation itself, I know all the other position fans and Dermot Gallagher or whatever his name is, they're going to say, oh, he gives the ref the opportunity to book him. And you could argue that he does, but then again, it's such a slight touch, and he wasn't going to take the free kick properly, the player. There was no one upfield, and the ball was moving as well. So you could argue that he didn't delay the free kick because he couldn't take it in the first place because the ball was moving. And yeah, it's just a case of the referee putting himself in the spotlight and not using common sense, because I feel like it's one of those where we aren't going to see one of those again in the near future, like we've seen similar situations with Tommy last season, where he got given 2 yellow cards, really, really soft yellow cards. The Martinelli situation. It seems like we're on the back end of some strange refereeing situations, and it happens every season. So, and again, you mentioned it before, the consistency. Someone put a tweet up yesterday or the day before. Yesterday must have been, and he'd counted all the incidents where a player had halted. Yeah, exactly that one. Had kicked or threw the ball away.
From Dobbo 0107, Kulusevski, Gaya, Cucurella, Porro, Joe Linton, all on a second yellow. Palm on a second yellow. Bruno Guimaraes on a second yellow, and Dalot. I've got that one wrong. All on kick the ball away to delay a restart. It's wrong, Dan, isn't it?
Honestly, it's disgraceful. You got to call it out and say like it is, right? You can't sugarcoat a turd and call it a cake. At the end of the day, it happens too often for anything like that to be a coincidence. It's down to referees that can't do their job, down to egotistical referees that want to be the centre of attention, and in my opinion, also down to some form of money in the game that's corruption. Because I can't see any other link now. It happens so often, it's not just a correlation. And for
every week, shit, referees!
Trev, I thought you was away, mate. I didn't realise you was at the game. Honestly, it's just a ridiculous decision. So many things about that incident that are terrible, and you've got people coming out saying, "Oh, by the letter of the law." The letter of the law is a complete load of crap because that isn't by the letter of the law. The letter of the law is the new law that if you waste time, so kicking the ball away that actually results in a waste of time, then yes, you can be booked. He didn't waste any time there. Firstly, he's kicked it 20 centimeters. Then you're assuming that he's intentionally done it, but even still, he's not impacted the game because the ball was rolling. And you can't take a free kick anyway. And another thing I'd say is you get a player. He had no intention of taking that free kick quickly.
It was by the corner flag.
Rolled the ball out. Now, for anyone that's ever played football at any level, if you roll that ball out, you're intending to do one thing: take a step back, get one up the pitch, kick it long. Instead, all we've done now is just seen him there. All he's done is gone, I'm going to kick the player and try and make a meal out of it. And he's played the game and he's got him sent off. It's ridiculous. There's only one thing there that the VAR should be doing. That's intervening and sending the player off and kicking him. And we've got a situation now where VAR is supposed to be that safety net where things don't go wrong, major decisions are looked at again. For them to have the rules where they can't look at a second yellow is ridiculous in this day and age. That's a classic example where they should say common sense should apply. It's not a red card, and tell the referee to get off his high horse and manage the game properly.
Trevor, first of all, Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck making sure that the referee knows there's a second yellow. Inconsistency with refereeing.
Every week, shit referees.
Every week, shit referees. What was your thoughts on it? I cannot disagree with anything the boys have said so far.
We all think the same. Every Arsenal fan I know thinks the same. And every fan of football that isn't too biased has said the same, you know. I can go down a slightly different line to Dan and still make the same point, Fergus, right? Because the point's been made that if you kick the ball away, you're asking for trouble. You're on a yellow. If you kick the ball away, you're asking for trouble, right? So let's say that ball is nudged that ball away. If the referee's on the ball enough to see that, then he should surely see that the ball only ends up by his foot because the opposition player has actually rolled it into his feet, right? Declan is walking away. Secondly, Dan and Alex got it exactly right. If that player is trying to kick that ball, his leg doesn't go at that angle. His leg doesn't go into Declan Rice like that, right? So there's so much in it that the only thing I can think is the referee shrugged his shoulders, thinking, "I'm going to be the centre of attention here, opportunity knocks," right? And I just look at it, and then I see that tweet, and I'd already looked at the other games, although I'm out in Greece, so I didn't have the technology to look at them all in depth. But just looking at some highlights, I saw a player picking the ball up from where the free kick should have taken and running 20 yards up the field with it, then dropping it on the floor. You know, I saw a player steaming into a ball and hoofing it into the stand. And I'm thinking, right, this is the inconsistency. And these are very obvious offences, not the little tickle that Rice has had. These are very obvious offences, and the referees have done absolutely nothing about it. So then I start taking the approach that Dan's got, and I'm thinking, why are they giving these decisions? Why are they giving these decisions only in certain circumstances? And I can't think of any other reason than there must be brown envelopes flying about, you know? I can't think of any other reason. It's that blatant. And just to finish off, Ferg, right? And Alex, by the way, your point about Martinelli and Tomiyasu and now Declan Rice, they only happen to the Arsenal win decisions. Right? But taking football in general, right? And what I would say to every fan of football, regardless of what team you support, is that this week, all the fans are laughing at Arsenal, right? Because we've been stitched up by a referee and we've had a player sent off. Next week, it'll be another club. The week after that, it'll be another club. And everybody will be laughing at them and it will be all over social media. And it ain't going to change until everybody sticks together, including some of the pundits with their absolutely stupid remarks. I mean, catastrophically stupid comments from some so-called football experts I've seen. That you've all got to stop that. The fans, the pundits, the managers saying it's all right when it's not us, or laughing when it's not us. You've all got to come together and you've got to say the problem here is with one thing: refereeing. And we've got to make that change. We can't have this cabinet geezer going around shrugging his shoulders on to saying, oh, I'm going to make a decision here. You give me no choice. That was what he was saying. You give me no choice. Well, you do have a choice, Chris Kavanagh, because next week someone will kick the ball away and you won't give that free kick. You won't send that player off.
Mark Holsey even said that he didn't think it was, and that Kavanagh was looking for trouble and found it. The referee should have, of his caliber, should have managed the situation by speaking to both players. The inconsistency that we talk about as well, because João Pedro kicked the ball away right in front of the dugouts, about 100 yards down the pitch. Dan, consistency.
Yeah, can I just come back to Trev on that quickly? Yeah. Because when you said about other fans and people laughing and the opinions of people on some of the channels like Sky, etc. I tell you how much of a ridiculous decision that is, and the reason I'd say that is the worst decision I've seen for years and years and years in football, is that so many fans have actually said, do you know what? Normally I'd all say, yeah, laugh at Arsenal was great, banter between clubs, etc. But they've all come out and said, well, for the most part, ridiculous decision. Most pundits and people in the media that are not being paid by Sky and TNT, so take from that as you want, have all come out and said how ridiculous that decision is. Ex-footballers have come out and said how people are not understanding the game, and that is a decision made by a referee who doesn't understand the flow of the game. And I guarantee 100% that any decent referee would never ever referee that in that way. They would take the two players aside and say, "This is it, final straw. I'm not booking any of you. If you kick the ball away again, you're getting booked. If you kick a player again like that, you're going to get sent off. End of it." They would control the game in a different way. The best referees, I can't remember his name. Alex, you'll probably know his name. Who was the guy with no hair that won in Europe?
Colina.
No way would he have done that same thing. He would have managed the game a lot better. But the thing is, that whole game was out of control. The referee had no control of that game. And the only thing that referee did was crack down on the team that didn't need to be cracked down on. Brighton was fouling and kicking the ball away and kicking our players, breaking up play for the whole game. Not just this decision. It was a terrible, terrible performance by a referee that I don't understand, because he either lost his head, he's incompetent, or exactly as we said, there's another reason behind it as to why he's made that decision. I don't think any other referee this weekend in any European game makes that same call.
Yeah, but Saka also said on Match of the Day afterwards that, João Pedro booted the ball halfway along, that's what you said, along the pitch, and he got nothing, and Deck got it for the slightest touch and was sent off. He just wants consistency. When we look at these as well, you can look at consistency in the standard of refereeing. You had Kai Havertz nearly getting strangled against Wolves, dunk, handball. Where's VAR in these situations, Alex?
It reminds me of Van Persie in the new camp when he got sent off for having a shot on goal after an offside. And I just think it should be in the best interest of the referee to keep all players on the field. It should be like the last resort sending a player off, because it's the ultimate punishment for, in football, is getting a player sent off. So he should do that should be last option possible. And I mean, yeah, it's just.
So remember the Man City game where Kovacic got a yellow card and didn't get sent off for the second one?
Yeah.
They came out and they said the threshold for second
Exactly.
Yellow.
Exactly, yeah.
For that, because that's not an increase in threshold. That threshold is that thin to keep the ball 20 meters. It's ridiculous.
They just change the explanations every time. Now it's letter of the law, blah blah blah, and then next week it's going to be something different. So yeah, it's just sickening and tired as well.
It can be hard for you to see this on your phone, but this handball here was looked at by VAR apparently, and according to Leanne, they said it was a natural position. It's below the elbow. There's no t-shirt line or anything like that. It's below the elbow. It's handball. Should have been a penalty in the first half.
Well, I saw it clearly on the telly. Of course, it should have been a penalty, but I've just given up with it. It makes you. I saw a comment and I mentioned it last season. I think I saw a comment on social media. It might have even been Dan. And it just makes you wonder why you're going to football. Makes you wonder why you're going to football. You know that when you're going to watch a game we say the Arsenal playing because we're Arsenal fans, so we have to quote our own club. But you know that when you're going to watch a game of football with the Arsenal playing, you're going to be lucky if after the game you're not talking about the referee more than any other player. It happens that often now. It happens that often. You come away from a game and thinking, "Oh my God!" And they can't involve. We spoke about it recently again. They can't involve VAR for yellow cards. They can't involve VAR for second yellow cards. They can't involve VAR for certain things. They're trying to let the ref get on with the game, so they're not putting VAR in. What an utter load of bullcrap! If something is wrong, then VAR should interfere. If something is wrong, then if a yellow card is given wrongly, then VAR call the ref out and say you need to look at that. It's not a yellow. What's the point of having it?
Yeah.
What's the point of having it? You know, I'm just so down, and I must have seen different social media to Dan today because although I've seen a bit of support, I've had a lot of stick on social media.
Even Jamie O'Hara, I think, stuck up for us. That's how bad it's got.
Yeah.
But I saw that from Jamie O'Hara. I saw that from Jamie O'Hara, and I thought that can't be Jamie O'Hara. That's got to be Dale in disguise. You know what I mean?
It was Dale. Dale changes.
Honestly, it just shows how ridiculous that decision is for people like that to be backing us. Yeah. And they say normally decisions like that even out over the course of a season. I'm not seeing it because it hasn't evened out for us over a number of years, let alone a season. It's getting to the point where it's laughable as how bad the standard is.
Dan, we said it earlier. And I think Fergus said it, and it's exactly right. Give me another episode like the Tommy Yasso sending off. Give me another example. Give me another example of the Martinelli sending off. Give me another example of the Declan Rice sending off. The odds are you probably can't. I can't be 100% certain, but
I'm sure other teams, Trevor. I'm sure other teams do get poor decisions like that, but it just does seem to be
2 yellow cards in 2 seconds.
I know. No, yeah.
I can't recall one.
I'm not saying identical decisions. I'm talking about incorrect, wrong decisions. You know, there's just
of course they do.
A guy grabbed him round the neck the other day and didn't get sent off. But you get
that was our new goalkeeper, Neto.
It's crazy. Honestly, that it's not even a lack of consistency. It's so far apart that it's more than consistency. I just don't believe it anymore. And I'm not a skeptic that comes out saying it must be this, it must be that. I can't see any other explanation anymore.
The thing that makes me believe it, the thing that makes me believe that it isn't bribery or anything like that is that it happens for every team. You see it every weekend, like in the Premier League. Shitty decisions go against all the teams. Like that's just my opinion.
The boos were ringing around the Emirates Stadium. You don't know what you do, and you're not fit to referee. The referees, everything was thrown at Kavanagh. Kavanagh, he was always petulant from that point, and decisions that should have gone our way, which he let Brighton off on several occasions, and then he, for the exact identical thing afterwards, an Arsenal player would get booked or carded for it. 57 minutes in, though, João Pedro, who should have had a yellow card in the first half, equalises. It's the first time that we've lost, that we've not won a game when we were winning at half time since April 2023, when we were 2-2, drew 2-2 against West Ham. We've won on the previous 22 matches when we're leading at half time. I didn't see the goal clearly enough. I just saw the crowd just go nuts. Alex, talk to me through this goal. The goal. Was there players at fault from our point of view?
I'd probably put Partey at fault for the goal. It was a good ball by Dunk in behind our defence, and then Partey just lost João Pedro, let go of him, and that's why he so easily could tap in the rebound from the shot. And then I think Gabriel could have done better because he got there actually, did well to get there, but then just kind of didn't do enough. But primarily, I'd say Partey was at fault for that goal because he let go of João Pedro. He could have just followed him and he wouldn't have been able to get the rebound. But yeah, it was a shame that they managed to score so quick after the sending off, because I thought actually after they scored their goal, I think we did well to come back into the game, and we had our chances as well. I mean, the chances were mentioned earlier. The Havertz one, he kind of created that one on his own. He did well, and then just lacked the final finish on that, and then the Saka one as well, where Havertz squirted to Saka. So I mean, we had our chances to win the game actually, despite being 10 against 11. So I still think there's so many positives to take from the game, and I'm in full belief that, I mean, we don't get that sending off, we're 100% winning the game. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of what keeps me optimistic, despite the referee making it difficult for us.
Dan, Brighton have remained unbeaten in their opening 3 games in the top flight for the second season, for the second time, previously doing it in 22-23. Same results, winning 2 and drawing 1. Do you think Brighton deserved a point out of that game?
No, not really. I think the ref got his point, if I'm honest. He got it for himself. I think we were the better team against Brighton. First half with 11, better team second half with 10. And I think that's a massive sort of round of applause to the team of how well they did against what is a very, very good Brighton side. It's bad enough and tough enough to play against Brighton with 11 men, let alone 10. They're not the most clinical in the final third, but they are up there with the likes of Arsenal and Man City in terms of progressing the ball from the back and playing through and beating the press. And that's the reason why we had to drop back as we did. You can't go and press Brighton that hard with 11 men, let alone 10. And I thought when we finally found our feet after 5 or 10 minutes, that's where we should have been with 10 men, we looked solid. We looked the most dangerous. I thought we were the better side yet again at breaking from a low block. I agree with what Alex said. I think Partey left his man and he's at fault. I also think we're very, very unlucky there for David Raya, because he makes a good first save and the second one goes just under his body. He's very unlucky. I think let's not brush past another good performance for Raya. I think he made some great saves in that game again.
He did.
The back 4 as well, I thought were very solid. We got opened up once. We were unlucky against 11 men with 10. I think we've got to move on to the positives.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there are some really good positives, because in the first couple of games, we've seen Saliba and Gabriel have a few shaky moments. Didn't see any of that in that game. In the first couple of games, we did see Partey look really well, but he looked a little bit, as I said, tired or not at his best in that one. Sum up the game for you then, Trev, and then we'll do the prediction league.
Well, I'm sitting here a little bit embarrassed actually, Fred, because I've listening to the boys and your good self, Dan, I've let the referee detract completely from me realising and talking about what Brighton did. Brighton went out there with a game plan, didn't they? Brighton went out there to kick us from the off. I thought the pressure was on and they were going to commit fouls if they had to and kick us from the off. Reminded a bit of the old days against Stoke, to be honest. But Brighton are a bit more of a classy side than that. So, yeah, I agree that we started off the game fantastically. I thought it was only a matter of time before we were banging goals in the final. We looked that good. And Dan's exactly right. After the sending off, I don't think we've got time to just settle into our stride again with the player short. Just find out where we were. Calafiori came on, didn't need to make the extra man at the back, you know. And I don't think we just got sorted before they scored their goal. And after that, we had the better chances to win the game. I think Ramsdale would have probably pushed the save away rather than where Raya played it back to their player to score. So I think Ramsdale would have done better probably. But I'm only saying that because I know it winds Dan up. But I don't know. I thought that we did all right. And I'm just to finish off, I think that we were the better side yet. I can't get this referee out of my head. It's actually confusing how these people get to be at that level, but I know we've got to move on. And the last thing on it is Danny Welbeck, don't expect no clapping and cheering from me anymore, mate, when it comes to the Emirates. That is gone. Finished.
We're going to do the prediction league just now, but because on Thursday, the show that we're going to do on Thursday, is going to be an expansion of that to a certain degrees. It's going to look at the who we predicted is going to be the champions, 2nd to 4th, 5th, and 6th, European contenders, relegation, the Great Escape.
What's happening there, Trevor?
Sorry, Ferg. I know you're trying to concentrate, mate. I just saw this leg come up out of nowhere.
Biggest achievers, underachievers, top goal scorer, top assist maker, one to watch in the youth, one to watch established, signing of the season, manager to watch, first manager to be sacked, and Trevor's favourite subject, flop of the season.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. So let's have a look at this prediction league. Do you want to go through it, Dan?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Obviously, all the results. We had a little caveat to this. I've had a bit of a ceasefire in terms of the deductions because of the awful refereeing and awful decisions and things that's been made by the PGMOL. I've given everybody their points back. So we now are actually on a level playing field after the results.
Whee!
You've actually
I think I might be bottom then.
Well, we'll find out. But it's quite surprising. Well, not surprising for the Arsenal game. Not a single one of us got it right because we were back to win. But we actually had quite a few correct results. Dale actually had 3 of them as well. But we might have to start putting some little bets on, lads, on our scores because we're getting quite a few correct scores there.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. But
so looking at. Go on.
So yeah, as we said, as the PGMOL are useless, the game's gone. I've reversed everyone's deductions. So if you go into the final table, we've actually got Dale. I think we should get rid of Dale because he's not on this show. So
yeah.
He's top. Alex, you're top. You're top. I'm second. Ferg, you're third, and Trevor, you're fourth. But yeah, actually, we had some pretty good, some good results. I think I got 7 out of 10 right in terms of like win-loss draws. Dale got 3 correct scores. I think we had quite a few correct scores in the 1-1 draw with Forest and Wolves. But yeah, fumble of the week. I had to put them in there, but make of that as you like.
A bit of feedback from Leanne. She said that we should highlight the winning predictions in green. Trevor, what's your? You chucking your toys out of the pram because I took it down off the screen. What's your problem?
No, I wasn't. I was just doing my Chris Kavanagh impression. I've got to do it every couple of minutes, you know.
All right, okay.
Gave me no choice.
There's more reference to me being bottom of the league.
Well, you're 4th out of 5th now, Trev, because Dale was at the bottom because he's not on this show.
Oh, good.
Guys, we have the international break. Boo, shouldn't be one at this time of the year. I think they should combine all 3 of the international breaks we got on September, October, November, and I think there should be just one international break. I don't think like the bigger side should be in the Nations League, unless the drop downs.
3 before Christmas.
I think there's a November one as well, isn't there?
Is there?
There is definitely one more. Yeah.
There's definitely October.
Boys,
boring.
Ferg, I've got no notes, as you know, mate.
What's new?
Boys, we've not spoken about it yet. What happened to Timber? What was the matter with Timber?
I think it was cramp, wasn't it? Apparently, you went off with.
I don't think he was injured.
Yeah.
I heard that cramp. I heard that. If he's got cramp, what is going on there? What is going on there?
Well, he's not played at that level of football for very much long.
Playing 10 men.
He'd been out for a year, playing as 10 men.
No,
Look at Declan Rice, as we said, in the first 2 or 3 games. He went down in the first game with cramp. So I think a lot of these players are just not ready for the start of this season. It's really early on. And added to that, it's flipping warm in that stadium this time of the year. Really, really warm. And in the early kickoff, the sun is on that pitch. And I'm sure
you want to try laying on my sunbed at the moment, mate. That's warm, let me tell you. 32 today.
We'll
put my pants back on.
We'll be back on Thursday. We'll do that prediction league of where we think the season is going to go. And then we've got a special show on Monday. Myself and Trev have a special guest. We'll try and give you some more details on that on Thursday.
I did want to be on it anyway, Ferg. I'm not bitter.
You don't even know who it is yet.
Roger, I
You
don't
don't
want to be on
even-
it. I wouldn't be on it anyway, even if you asked me.
Okay, that's on record. That's on record.
Yeah.
So, phew, we're not going to get any.
I'm going to sit there on the chat keyboard while we're having a go at you.
Ferg, what's the reaction going to be when they find out it's Chris Kavanagh?
Oh, I might reverse my decision by the letter of the law on that one.
Right, let's do this. The beer's run out, Trev. It's time to go.
Ferg, listen, mate.
Hang on. 96 people on Twitter. Jump over to YouTube, click on like and subscribe, and help us out along the way. Trevor, before I click this button, you better be quick.
Listen, mate. This is what it's all about, isn't it? We're all having a beer. I'm in Greece. You're in the studio. Alex is in Denmark. You know, Dan could be anywhere. This is our podcast. We're all fans. Proper fans. Watch Guns and Yellow Ribbons and watch next week because we've got a special guest.
Give us a twirl. Give us a twirl.
Do you like my shirt?
If you can, Trev, stand up.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone.
I hope he's kept his shorts on.
Yeah, that might be a good thing that's frozen.
That was lucky. Saved by the bell.
Maybe his major flop knocked over his laptop.
That could have been flop of the season there.
That could have been flop of the season. You have been watching.
No flops here, boys.
You have been watching Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. I hope you enjoyed the show. Up the Arsenal, fuck the Spurs.
Thanks for listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons or Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too. Up the Arsenal.